I'd just like to offer a big shout out to Touchdown Digital for sponsoring this week's video. Touchdown Digital, the leaders in web design, construction, maintenance. touchdowndigital.com.au.
Well, good morning everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all fighting fit and well. Look, it is currently 4:30 in the morning and I'm at probably one of the greatest sunrise locations for photography, that is, here in the Blue Mountains, and it's Govetts Leap here in Blackheath. Not far from where I live, and I have been here before. The last time I was here was 2 years ago and I managed to capture some great shots then. Actually, I printed one out and it's on the wall back home in the workers' cottage. But I thought I'd just come out here today. According to all weather reports, we're going to have a bit of cloud and there could be a bit of fog rolling through the valley just here. This particular lookout is very, very famous, and if you just type in or do a Google search or Instagram or whatever you want to do there, search Govetts Leap and you will see the images that can be obtained here. So basically the morning should be okay. I've got about sunrise here is around about 5:20, but you want to be shooting well before that, and I'll be talking to you about that as the morning progresses. But I'm here now at Govetts Leap in Blackheath, one of the great areas of the Blue Mountains. And if you're in the area or you're travelling or on holidays here, I suggest you come to Govetts Leap because it is an absolute magnificent location for sunrise photography. So yeah, I'll get set up. I've just got to walk down through here a bit. You're on a fairly safe sort of platform. You're up very high. They are predicting rain later on and for the rest of this week, which is good. Bring on those waterfalls. But I thought I'd come out here this morning and just show you one of the greatest locations of the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. So having said that, I'll turn this one off, go over there, set up, and then I'll run through with you a few things that might help you with your sunrise photography. So let's go. Okay guys, I finally got down onto the platform here, and it's a little bit breezy, but well, because we're up so high. Just a few things, a couple of things with sunrise photography. It pays to arrive at your location at least 45 minutes to an hour before sunrise, because what happens there, and I see it so many times, people turn up and they're just too late. They've missed the magic. And yes, I know here on the east coast of Australia, in summertime it's a very, very early start. I get it, I got it, I know how hard it is for some people to get out of bed early, but if you really want to succeed at sunrise photography, there's a few things that you need to do or need to know. And one of them is to arrive at your location at least an hour before actual sunrise. The next thing is to do your homework. Sort of like suss out the area or do a recce the day before or a few days before. If you can't do that, which I do understand, I get it, you could probably get on the internet and have a look at social media, or have a look at the weather maps, and just find out a little bit about the location. For me, yes, it's easy because I live up here, but there's certain locations that I've never been to up here and I really don't know much about them, so I've still got to do my homework as well, regardless of me living in the area or not. So the idea is to get to your location about an hour before sunrise, get set up. The next thing you need really is a good head torch. You don't want a bloody handheld torch or using your phone, because you want to be able to work with both hands, you know, setting up cameras and things like that. So a good head torch, I use a Milwaukee head torch. It's a powerful beast. It's got, I think, about 100 metre range in full power, and it's USB chargeable, so which is good. So you need a good head torch because you are working in the dark until the sun comes up. So get to your location at least an hour before sunrise. Have a good head torch. Do your homework. Suss out the area that you want to photograph for sunrise. That way, if you've got the information, you know exactly what lens to take. If you need any filters, you know, what sort of tripod do you really need for this location? Do you need a heavy tripod or a lighter tripod? There's plenty of information there on the internet, and I suggest you do your homework if you want to be successful with your sunrise photography. Now here we've got a break in the clouds. Now already I know that we've got a lot of dark cloud mixed in with sky, so we want clouds, but we also want a bit of that orange coming through. So fingers crossed, I think this might be okay. It is now dead on 5 a.m. and within the next, say, 30 minutes, the big dance will start here. So yeah, so remember that. Get to your location at least an hour before sunrise, a good head torch, do your homework or your research on the area that you want to shoot for your sunrise photography, because that'll put you in front of a lot of other people that turn up late and haven't done the homework, you know. But if you do those things, I can guarantee you at least some success with your sunrise photography. So I'll turn this one off. I'll take a couple of more shots and then I'll come back to you when I've got a little bit more light. There's a couple of more things I want to talk to you about, including shooting a panorama, what you do need and what you don't need. So we'll do that and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay guys, we've got some really nice light about to happen here. It is a bit cloudy, but that's what you want. You want clouds for this type of photography, and a few minutes I'll spin this video camera around and I'll show you exactly what I'm looking at. But you have to get here early. You have to get here before dark, before it gets light. You still got to arrive in the dark. Cable release, because you're shooting, even though you're shooting on a tripod, it's so much easier. You've got lower shutter speeds. With this, I always shoot with cloudy white balance. Forget about auto white balance. I know you can correct that in Lightroom, Photoshop, but why would you want to be sitting in front of a computer when you can be out here doing this and getting it right in camera? I don't use auto white balance. It's either cloudy white balance or shady for this style of photography. That way you're going to bring out the colours. Now, when I look at the sky here, and I've just taken one shot, there is slight pink tone to it, and that's what we're wanting. We're not too far away now from probably around about a blue hour type of situation, and that'll only last here for about probably minimum 5 to 10 minutes. So this is why it's so important that you need to know how to use your gear. You don't want to be fumbling around and missing the shots, because everything happens really quickly. Now, I've set this camera up to take shots every 30 seconds. And the reason for that is the light's changing so quickly. So every 30 seconds, the camera is taking a shot. And that way, I mean, it's digital, for goodness sakes. Take as many as you like. But other than that, that's probably the best advice I can give you. Try and take a shot every 30 seconds up until the time where it's just too bright and the shoot's really over. Mother Nature has decided to go back to bed. So, but it is what it is. There is some still nice colour about to happen in the next half an hour. But I'll turn this one off and I'll get back to you when we have a little bit more light, and I'll talk to you about shooting panoramas. Okay guys, it's panorama time. Now, first thing you'll probably think about is parallax issues, or trying to find the nodal point. Well, in this type of panorama photography, there's nothing in the foreground, so I'm not worried about the parallax error. So I'm not using any rails or any special gizmos here to do the panorama. Now, this is going to be a 6-shot panorama. Now, one of the most important things about your panoramas is you have to have everything level. Otherwise, if you don't, as you swing the camera around, it'll start to drop off. And always shoot panoramas in portrait mode, because that gives you a lot of real estate up the top and a lot of real estate down the bottom. That way, when it comes time to crop, you're not losing any top of the mountain ranges or anything in the below on the bottom of the frame. So you've got more landscape to work with. So, plus also too, when you shoot panoramas, if you're using a 30 megapixel camera and you take a 6 pano shot, well, 6 5s are 30, that's 300 megapixels. That's a huge file, and you'll be able to print that out and put it on the side of a bus. You do lose about 30% when you do the stitching in Photoshop, but you still work out a frame of around about 220, probably 210, 220 megapixels, and that's a huge file. And if you've got a computer system that can handle that, well, then you can make some really great panoramas. And this particular one will be printed out this week, and it'll be going on the wall in the workers' cottage back home. So I'll show you what I'll do. Everything's set, ready to go. Now, as I said, this is a 6 pano image, and you allow for 30%. So each time you take a shot, you're doubling them up by about 30%. More the better. If you don't, well then you'll have a bit of a problem when it comes time to stitching. So I'll start doing it now, and I'll count as I go along. Now, with this here, before I take those shots, this Benro gearhead, 2 turns, I know for a fact that I've got 30% overlap. So we'll get that done. So I'll fire it off now. As I said, 2 turns of the handle, and what that does, that enables me to have 30% overlap. So when it comes time to stitching in Photoshop, you don't have a problem. So we'll take the shots now, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. But everything must be level on your tripod, because if your tripod's not level, your pano does not work out. So here we go. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there's one other thing you must do, is take a final shot with your hand. When you do that, the reason why you do that is when you put it in Photoshop, you'll know where your images start and stop. So, very basic thing to do. You can use a ball head, a geared head like this Benro here, any of the pan heads, or even a proper pano head. But really, at the end of the day, you just need to have the tripod straight, the camera straight, and if you don't have any foreground element, well, you're not worrying about parallax issue, trying to find the nodal point. If I did have something in front of me, well then yes, I'd have to bring the center of the lens back over the center of the tripod, and for that I'd need a rail to do that. But in this case, shooting this vast vista here, you don't really need it. So I'll turn this one off, I'll take a few more shots and we'll wrap it up here at Govetts Leap. Okay, as you can see now, that's the actual scene that I've been photographing virtually since the sun came up. We've got points over here, then we've got a V in the valley, which makes for a nice composition actually. Over here you'll see there's been like a bit of a landslide with the bush, which sort of like a bit of a scar on the face of the mountain there. Now, as you can see, the sky is very cloudy. I'll just darken it a bit for you. So as you can see there, it yeah, the colour was there. It's more blue actually, and I always, as I said, I always shoot my landscapes in with a cloudy white balance, and it seems to work with this type of photography. So over here, the sun has now come up. It's come up this way, and it is now lighting this sort of like big basin area here. Just a spectacular area here. This is the Govetts Leap here at Blackheath in the Blue Mountains, New South Wales. It's been pretty good, but now what we're having here, and I'll just slightly turn the camera around. If you have a look there, you'll see the light streaks coming through over the top of the ridge, and that's bouncing off the top and then coming down into the valley. Now, I'm going to take a couple of shots of this. I might have to bracket the exposures once again because it's such a high dynamic range area this that you really have to really know your exposures. So been a pretty good morning here. Met met a lady here that has just come back from Canada actually, and was telling me about her trip, and I was telling her about my planned trip, so we were comparing notes. But other than that, I'll take a few more shots. But yeah, once again, as you can see, the light trails are coming through here, which is really, really good. Another thing with sunrise photography, don't go home too early. Don't leave too early. There comes a point where it's too bright, but then there's things like this happening where if you weren't here, you're not gonna be able to shoot it. So I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Well, that's it, guys. That's about it. About us finished here at Govetts Leap at Blackheath in the Blue Mountains. The morning was not too bad. I managed to extract some nice shots out of the light that was available to me. It wasn't really a challenge at all. The challenge was keeping the bugs off everything, actually. A lot of bugs. But yeah, cloud is now settled on top of the ridgeline, as you've seen in where I was showing you what I was photographing. But the thing with sunrise photography is, one, you've got to get to your location before sun up. It just doesn't work if you don't. Pre-plan your trip to your required destination, and just do your homework. If you've not been to the location before, get as much information as possible as you can. What sort of light would be available at the time. There's plenty of apps. There's that much information on the internet now that it's almost impossible to stuff up a location, really. The only way you can stuff a location up is not by doing your homework. So the idea with, as I said, with this type of photography is get here early. Sunrise here was about 5:30 this morning. I got here at 4:30, started to set up, and I was taking images, or I was pushing that shutter button when it was still dark, and that way I was able to extract as much information from the light that was available. And as time went on, you have to adjust your settings in your camera, of course, such as your ISO and your shutter speed. But basically, I was shooting aperture priority and manual at the time, and I always use cloudy white balance with my landscape photography, whether it's this, waterfalls, or whatever the case may be. But I just love the cloudy white balance setting inside the camera. Sure, you can do it on Lightroom Photoshop, but I'd rather do it in the camera, and then I can tweak it if I have to back on the computer. So early to your location, do your homework. Suss out the area if you can a few days before. If you can't do that, I know it's hard for some people. Get as much information via the internet as possible. Also too, cable release, always cable release. It just eliminates any camera shake at all because you're using slow shutter speeds, don't forget. Cable release or a 2-second timer. What else do you need? Keep your ISO as low as possible if you can. As I said, you're on a tripod, cable release, slow shutter speeds because of the less light, obviously. So a cable release will stop any movement or any blur of happening. If you have a tripod with a center column, try not to raise that center column. I'll be doing a video in the next couple of days on how to work a tripod like a boss, because some of the things I see, and I've seen it here this morning, the way people use their tripods or what they don't do with them is the thing. So keep an eye out for that video. Yeah, if you've got a center column, try not to raise it, because once you raise that center column on a tripod, you've effectively got a monopod on top of your tripod, and it isn't very stable. Make sure that your camera is straight. Either use a bubble float or the level inside your camera. Keeping in mind you're coming to a location when it's still dark, you need a good head torch. Don't worry about using the light on your phone, because you want to be able to use both hands. You're mucking around with cameras and lenses and God knows what else. So a good head torch, like I've got the Milwaukee one, which is a great piece of kit. You get that from Total Tools. What else is there? Basically, that's it really for your sunrise photography. The settings, the settings start at ISO 400, and as the light comes up, work your way back. Don't go over 400. Work your way back from 400 ISO back, and histogram. always check your histogram, especially when it's sunrise shooting. I do expose slightly to the right, ETTR, exposed to the right. That way I can bring down the highlights and I can also bring up the shadows without causing much noise. So I'm overexposing probably by a stop, and then I can bring that back down in post. I did some bracketing shots as well because it is such a high dynamic range area, and I also did some a couple of panorama shots, as you've seen throughout this video. So that's it. I hope you've taken away something from this. Any questions or comments, please put them down below. I'll certainly get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for supporting my channel. I much appreciate it. This is the start of a new year for me, 2022, and it's going to be an absolute bottler with plenty more to come on this channel. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next door so you don't miss anything. Other than that, the next 24 hours will be another couple of videos coming up, and one is on a tripod that I've purchased, and this thing is an absolute beast, but wait till I tell you the price. So that's in the next couple of videos. So that's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. As I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting, keep smiling, and bye for now. Beautiful place. Amazing.